Friends, last Shabbat, I had the opportunity to participate in the Jewish National Retreat. It was 4 days of lectures and learning from morning to night, nourishing the mind, body, and soul. On Shabbat morning, I actually led the beginner service with people from all different ages, all walks of life, so many different backgrounds. It was a wonderful opportunity to connect and bond with our fellow brethren from around the world. Many questions were asked. People asked, what is the Torah? What does it mean, Torah? We talk so much about it, this blueprint for the Jewish people. And many different answers were given. Some said a history book, a guidebook. Others said God's wisdom. We just had a great discussion about the meaning of the word Torah. Now the truth is, friends, they were all right. But the Torah offers much more than just thoughts and prayers. The Torah really answers and is a timeless solution to today's issues. Now, although much of our history in the Torah or in the Bible is not always a history book, because if you would say it's a history book, it's a pretty lousy history book, because there are many times historical events just are omitted, whereas seemingly trivial incidents are related at length. And just to make sure we are properly confused, the Torah often recounts events that were completely out of chronological order or sequence. You know why? Because the Torah is, although it's presented in a story form, it's not a history book. Every biblical episode is actually current events. It's applicable to our lives today. In fact, did you know that the word Torah has the exact same root as the word hora'ah, which means lesson, and mora, which means teacher? Because every word and every letter of the Torah has so many life lessons to teach us. So when the Torah chooses to tell us a conversation that took place, it's because its message is timeless. The details that are shared are actually instructions to us. It's a guidance. While many more of the juicy parts of the story are left to the Midrash and other commentaries and our traditions, since they don't really have that much as an eternal message to us today. Now, one of the constant recurring themes in the Torah portion we're reading, in the book we're reading, Deuteronomy, which is the final book of the Torah, which is actually Moses' final 30 days before his passing, it actually has many descriptions where Moshe talks about the upcoming conquest of the land of Israel and the assurance that they will be successful in battle. They were 40 years in the desert after the Exodus. He said, you'll make it in. God will be with you. We see in this week's text, it says, you might say to yourself, the nations of the world are numerous. How are we going to be able to conquer the land of Israel? God says, don't fear. Don't be terrified. Because God, your Lord, our God, is a great and awesome and mighty God. It's Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 17. There's another verse that says, we remember that Moses, it's important to know that Moses wasn't just addressing a nation that was accustomed to miracles from back then. Because you remember that nation saw miracles every day. They saw the manna from heaven. They had water with them in the desert coming out of the rock. They conquered 2 mighty kingdoms, Emor and Bashan. This was a nation that saw a lot of miracles. But Moses actually sensed there was a dread and an apprehension. And he felt, I need to reassure them. Because he wasn't going into the land. He had to reassure them about the future. And again, he's reminding them, remember, the Lord your God, he will deliver you to them. He will confound the enemies with great confusion until they are destroyed, as it says in Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 22. So when the Torah repeats these lengthy and powerful uplifting messages to Moses, from Moses to the Jewish people, who are about to cross the Jordan River into a battle for their divinely promised homeland, it's not just recounting a moment in history. It's actually telling us a message that you and I need to hear today. Look what's going on in the Middle East. Hezbollah in Lebanon, people say they have 150,000 rockets and missiles. Yes, true friends, they have advanced anti-tank missiles, surface-to-air missiles, and a vast underground network. And it's true that Iran has billions of dollars to spend on terrorizing Israel. And yes, there are millions and millions of Arabs and Muslims who wish for our death and destruction in the Middle East. But friends, you cannot be afraid, because the Torah's eternal words of strength have never been more relevant. Moses back then is telling those of us alive today in 2024 who are scared of a war of Lebanon, are frightened by our enemies and all the numbers that they have. Moses is saying, trust in God, don't fear. God will fight for us and he will destroy those that seek to destroy us. Moses says in Deuteronomy in the Torah this week, he will deliver their kings into your hands and he will destroy their name from beneath the heavens. Take a look inside Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 23. Yet, some are cynical. Some people might think, that was then. Now, it's at different times. So besides all the repeated messages of strength and protection, Moses tells us one more thing we should know. Listen to these words. Moses says, the land which you are coming to possess is a land which the Lord your God looks after. His eyes are on this land always, from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. Deuteronomy chapter 11, verse 12. You know what it says? Always. That means God forever, even in 2024, is watching the land of Israel. Don't be afraid to travel to the land of Israel. Many are traveling. Planes are booked. Because if we don't, we're allowing the terrorists to win. If we give in to any fear, they just won another battle that we just lost. They have just gotten stronger and we have just gotten weaker. So I refuse to be afraid the way Hamas and all the other enemies want to treat us. But more importantly, I believe in God. I don't just believe in some abstract way that there's a God in heaven. No. I know and I trust that God is running the show down here. He controls everything that happens in this world. And if God says, I will always watch the land of Israel, he's watching out for us now. And that's good enough for me. Our Rebbe repeatedly used to quote this verse, assuring us that Israel's the safest place in the world for a Jewish person. Do you remember before the Six-Day War in 1967 and before the Gulf War? The Rebbe encouraged people to travel there and he's discouraged anyone from leaving. Because the Rebbe taught us how to ignore the doomsayers, declaring repeatedly that God loves his people and that I will once again perform tremendous miracles and wonders for all of us to see. And that's exactly what happened. You remember the Gulf War? 40 Scud missiles struck Israel's soil. Not one of them killed anybody. Personally, friends, I'm experiencing even greater miracles to happen this time around. I'm expecting great miracles to happen this time around because so many prophecies have already been fulfilled. And the nations are not stopping. And we also have the military capacity to win with God's blessings. So all we still need is the power of pure faith and complete confidence in a God who's taking care of all of us. A God which we know that will redeem us from all evil, from all dictators, without war or bloodshed. Let us listen to the words of Moses that he said back then, because he was addressing it to us today. Al tira mipachad pisaim. Don't be afraid of any sudden terror, as Isaiah said. Because utsu eitza, they will plan, visufar, it will fall apart. You know why? Ki imanu kel, because God is with us. Friends, don't just have faith, have trust. For in God we trust. And when we live life that way, we will overcome all challenges. And we will experience a true redemption where there will be no more wars, no more famines, no more darkness. Because God's light and blessings are going to be felt by the entire world, Jews and Gentile alike. May you all be blessed with a beautiful, beautiful Shabbat. And remember, in God we trust.